Hey friend, it's Ange here, and today on the show, we're talking about being the kind of person who likes to plan. You find yourself planning galore, meaning you are often thinking about what could potentially happen in the future, what's likely to happen, what potential issues could happen, and how can I plan and prepare right now to potentially handle those issues. And you may hear this word that keeps coming up, potentially, because we don't really even know what's going to happen, but you're thinking about what could possibly happen at all times and how you can be better prepared for that. All right, if that is you, I can raise my hand and say I'm that person too. And what I've been finding out recently is that the way I've been planning doesn't actually bring me a lot of peace. Because I tried to plan because I'm thinking like this is going to create more peace for me. But what it's been doing, I've really been noticing this, it's been causing me to live in the future and spend most of my time trying to prepare versus being in the moment and really enjoying the moment. And I've been struggling with this because I'm a huge advocate of planning and what I would say being intentional with your life, having a vision, thinking about the future and how you can better prepare to live, a better future. But then again, there's this balance where you want to be good in the moment to enjoying it and present. And it's like, how do I do both of those things? How do I plan without feeling anxious? Like, how do I plan in a way that makes me feel more peace? Because right now it makes me feel like more worried when I think about, oh, this could potentially happen. I better get my stuff together for that. So these are the thoughts that really have been running in my mind. So in this episode, what I want to do is I'm talking a little bit more about where this idea came from. Obviously, it came from personal experience of the thoughts that are in my mind. But I want to dive into that a little bit more. And then I have 3 strategies that I wanted to share with you that I actually have found to really help me be the kind of planner that I want to be, where I can do both. I can plan for what's to come, but I can feel peace about it while I'm planning. And that can actually cause me to generate more peace in my life. And I can really be more present in the moment. You may hear my little gal, she's about to wake up. She does this she's one of the ones, side note, that she ramps up. She gives you a warning. It's like this little piggy noise that she makes. And then she's like, I'm slowly letting you know I'm about to flip out. It's like it ramps up though, where my son was a different creature in the sense that he would be like, just go from 0 to 100 right away. Like the scream immediately and you're like, whoa, and it really affects your nervous system. She ramps up. So she's a lot more sweet about it. So she's just ramping up right now. It's about to come, but I think we got a little bit of time here. Okay. So let's just jump in. So where did this idea come from? This came from the fact that I was telling my husband recently, in conversation, I said, I feel like I spend so much time preparing for the next thing. Constantly, I was like, when you come home from work, don't you notice that all I'm doing is getting things ready for the next day? Because this is how I am for real. I'll be making dinner and stuff. And I have a bin that I carry upstairs that has all the things that need to go upstairs to prepare for the next day. So I actually bring a protein shake that I make. I mix it up. I put it in a blender ball cup thing. And that goes in my mini fridge upstairs. So when I first wake up in the morning, I can grab my protein drink. I bring one of my son's milk bottles upstairs. I know he needs to stop drinking out of the bottle. People have been saying that to me, but I'm like, I don't have time to worry about that right now. I got a newborn baby. I don't want to deal with this whole toddler trauma with the bottle. He can have his milk in the bottle. Okay. You got to choose your battles wisely in the season that I'm in. Anyways, so I bring that bottle too. I'm preparing to bring that upstairs, put in the fridge. I'm preparing all these things. I'm like, let me think. And then even when I get upstairs, I'm like, let me get my clothes out. The amount of preparing that I do, so time consuming. And even downstairs, I'm preparing for my husband's breakfast, my kids' lunches, breakfast, all the things. So I spend literally a big chunk of the evening just planning for the next day. And I'm not saying I want to get rid of that because I actually like that. I feel like I start my day off well, and things flow nicely. But I will tell you that I have not, it's not like I've been feeling oh, this makes me feel so much peace. No, what it actually does at times is sometimes take away the evening from me. So I was telling my husband this. I was like, it just feels like that's all that occupies my brain is what's coming next. And especially in the season that I'm in right now, because I'm freshly postpartum and I'm pumping a lot of milk and preparing my kids and for food for my kid. And I just feel like you're always thinking about that. If you've ever had to do that, you know that it just occupies so much of your mental space, So I just feel like this is happening a lot. But then I was checking in with myself and I'm like, this is a pattern that you have ran though. Like we're always thinking ahead, that sometimes it causes you not to be in the moment. So what are you going to do about this? Like this needs to change, because if you have this vision of being this relaxed woman with peace as the standard, then you need a plan, show up in the planning process in a way that just makes it easier for you and more peaceful. Like something's got to change here, because otherwise you're not generating the kind of energy you want in your life. And this is the other thing that I want. I crave moments to just be creative and like be in a playful state and have more fun in my life. Like I crave that. I want to design a life that is filled with that. I know my clients do too, because they come to me being like, I don't really feel like I have a lot of fun. I feel like I am like often stressed out a lot and I want to enjoy my life more. I want to be creative. I want to play. Like they don't say it in exactly those words, but that's what I'm really wanting. So that's all an energy thing that needs to change. Okay, so I got all my notes here and they're so messy. So let me dive in to see what we're saying here. So that's where this came from. That was my point, this idea. And then I thought about 3 strategies that you can use that will help shift your energy and help you be the kind of planner that you want to be. Because you might be like me and you're like, I don't want to not plan. Like I know that's part of being intentional. But I don't want it to consume my life and cause more anxiety for me. I want it to actually generate the peace. Okay. So I'm not saying throw it away. And I actually think I checked this out biblically. This is where I want to go. I want to dive into the Bible just a bit, because I wanted to see what the Bible said about this. Because I was like, I get so confused, because I know the Bible talks about being intentional and planning and being a good steward. But yet there's also this talk about not worrying about tomorrow. And I'm like, how do I plan, but also like keep the worry out? Like these are the thoughts. So we're going to dive into a very common verse that you may have heard, even if you don't consider yourself like a Bible person, or you don't know the Bible well, because I feel like I don't, but I have heard this a lot where people say this verse, they quote it. Therefore, do not be anxious about tomorrow, for tomorrow will be anxious for itself. Sufficient for the day is its own trouble. This is Matthew 6:34. Therefore, do not be anxious about tomorrow. You may have heard that. Like it's going to take care of itself. Tomorrow will take care of itself. Just don't be anxious, okay? And you're like, how? So it's saying that. And I want to dive into what is actually said here. So the word anxious, it's a Greek word, or there is a Greek word for it. It's an English word, but the Greek word for it actually means pulled in different directions, mentally divided, consumed with care. So if we change this and we say that do not be pulled in so many different directions, so mentally divided, so consumed with it. That's what it's saying here. Don't do that. It's not saying don't plan. It actually doesn't say anything about planning here. It says don't be pulled in all these different directions, mentally divided, so consumed and obsessed with it, essentially. That's what it's saying not to be, because tomorrow will take care of itself. So he's not saying here, don't think about tomorrow. Don't worry. He's saying don't worry about it. Don't carry the emotional weight of it today. That's what he's saying. So this is where if you find yourself pulled in many directions, so mentally divided, you're so consumed and obsessed trying to get ahead, that's where the problem is when you're planning. And if you boil this down even more, it's probably because there's a lack of trust there that you'll be taking care of. So even with me, it's like as I'm doing my planning, I want to just check in with my energy. How does it feel? Is this coming from the face of like, oh my gosh, I'm like pulled in all these directions. I have all these things to think about. I feel like so consumed with this because I'm worried that this won't happen. Like I won't have a good day unless I do all these things. It won't turn out well unless I do this. It's like tight gripping, controlling. Do an energy check there, because I can still be the person in the evening planning out the meals, planning the next day, but I can do it from a higher energy of trust. And also sometimes I can check in and be like, I don't really need to worry about that right now. I can do that one tomorrow. And just check in with myself and see where's the energy at. So I want you to think about the energy behind this. Okay, little gal is She's ramping up more now, but we can get through this. So I want to dive deeper too into where planning is encouraged. So in Proverbs 21:5, it says, the plans of the diligent lead surely to abundance. I love that word, abundance. The plans of the diligent lead surely to abundance. So it's saying, like, if you want abundance, essentially you need to be planning too. So it's not like you throw planning out the window. It's like, if the plans of the diligent lead surely to abundance, but everyone who is hasty comes only to poverty. Ooh, check in with that, because this is what it means. If you look deeper, I look at the energy here. There's an energy of where you plan and you're diligent, and it's this higher energy space that you are planning from. And I think I generate this a lot with my clients, because I'm like, oh, wouldn't it be cool if you could do this with your career? Wouldn't it be cool if you could be at home with your babies too, having fun with them, and do all the creative stuff that you like? And wouldn't it be cool if you had this time off? You had this flexibility to schedule. You can go on these trips. And it's like we're planning there. I feel like that's a fun way of planning. And as they start to think about that, they start to see opportunities to have that kind of lifestyle. I see those connections happening because I feel like the energy is there. We're generating the right kind of energy that's aligned. Now, the last part of this says, but everyone who is hasty comes only to poverty. So hasty, I think about this as that rushy energy. I hate that rushy energy. Ooh, that's a quick way. You may have heard me talk about this on the podcast. Quick way to piss me off is to try to rush me. Because then I feel like this rushy energy, and I'm like, oh, like it feels like it's a low energy. So the hasty rushiness. So it's saying if you show up like that, that's going to lead to poverty. So what this essentially tells me is, like, there's an energetic connection here. Show up with this one kind of energy of this, you're diligent, you're committed, but you are intentionally planning, but it's like this higher, you're doing it from a higher energy and abundance place of, wouldn't it be cool if, it's just a different energy behind it. That leads to abundance. Now, if you're rushing around, you're trying to tight grip and control, and you're thinking, oh, if I don't do this, it won't lead to this. If I don't talk to this person, if I don't say it this way, if I don't get this thing out and prepared, it's not going to be a good outcome. Like, you can feel that even in my voice. Like, you can feel the energy behind it, the tight gripping. That leads to poverty. That kind of energy, the hasty. So I also feel like, let's plan, but let's do it with the right kind of energy. And all we can do, and the thing that controls that energy or generates it, is the thoughts. And you have to check in yourself. What are you thinking as you are planning? And are you doing it from a high energy or a lower place? Only you can really know that based on how you feel when you are doing it. And also if you tie it back to what you're thinking, that generates the feeling. So let's dive deeper into the whole planning. So in Luke 14:28, it says, for which of you desiring to build a town does not first sit down and count the cost when he has enough to complete it? And count, my writing is like so messy, I can't even read it. So basically what it's saying here, if you're going to try to build a town, it doesn't even say house. Did I say house? If you're trying to build a town, you're trying to build something. I'm in the process of my mind. I'm like, we're wanting to build a new house. So it's basically saying here, like, the first thing is that you need to sit down and count the cost of it. You need to be intentional. You need to plan. And I think this is where I talk a lot about, like, clarifying your vision. And not only do you have to have a vision that you are working towards, and there's so much biblically that supports that, and setting out the plan, you got to be the person that brings that plan into fruition. You got to put the right things in place to bring that. You got to think about the cost of it. You're trying to build a town. What's the cost of it? What do you need? You do need to think about those things. So planning is encouraged, but it's encouraged from this place of this higher energy of, like, what could be possible? And then what do I need to put in place? But again, going back to checking the energy. So we need to think about, how can we plan in a way that generates more of those peaceful, higher energy for us? Like, how can we plan from that place? So what I'm going to tell you next is simply three strategies that I've used that actually cause it so that, how do I say this the right way? Like, when I plan, I don't feel stressed out about it. I actually feel more peace when I am planning, but I'm still showing up and planning, because I think that is important to be intentional. Because I personally don't like leaving things all up in the air when it's big things. Like, That's a hard thing too, because you want to be in the flow and you want to trust. But I think it's like, this is the way that I see it, is like you have your coffee, right? And you put it in a mug. I think it's important for you to have a mug, because if you don't, you just like pour the coffee out and it flows everywhere. It's like there's no container for that flow. So I think create the container for the flow, but don't be attached. It's like creating the vision, but not being attached for it. That's the container to hold the flow. And because I know some people who will be like, oh, like I don't plan. I just like to go with the flow. And I feel like, I don't know. They're not always they don't always have the kind of life that I want. Just keeping it real. At least people that I know that say that and that show up that way. I like the people that I admire. They're actually super intentional with their time and their energy, but they're not showing up like anxious and stressed out. They don't generate that kind of energy. It's more of showing up grounded and being intentional about what they focus on and where their energy goes. It's just a different energy they're giving off. Sometimes I feel like I have a hard way of explaining it, or I struggle explaining it. Okay, so let me give you my 3 strategies that I have found that has helped me still be the planning type, but generate peace around it. Number 1 is to, especially in the season I'm in right now, plan in blocks. So you get to decide what the block is. You can be like, it's 15 minutes, a 15-minute block. You could be like, it's the full day. You decide a designated chunk of time that you plan for of what you're doing, and don't get ahead of yourself too much. The reason why I'm sharing this strategy with you is because ChatGPT actually gave me this after I've talked to ChatGPT a lot about, oh my gosh, I feel like I need to do this, that. I feel like I'm behind, and I'll like talk, and it'll come back and it'll say, just plan in blocks. Like, you're getting too far ahead of yourself. You don't need to solve tomorrow, like this summer's issues. Like, it literally has told me that. You don't need to solve this summer's issues. Like, how about you figure out what you're going to do for the next hour? Like, it has came back and said those things to me. And I was like, you're right. Because I'm taking on all of the emotional stress of all the future. And let me just pile it on today. It's like I don't have enough of it already, when you really think about it. So this is where you plan in blocks. So it could be like today, let me give you an example of how it broke down. I gave my goals and, oops, hold on, baby girls. She's ramping up even more. I gave my goals, and then I was like, okay, so it basically came back and said, how about you just do the podcast, then worry, I'm saying this in quotation marks, or then focus, don't worry, just focus on the next thing once you've completed that. So sometimes I feel like someone needs to just tell you, like, hey, you don't have to solve tomorrow's problems, next week's problems, this summer's problems. Like, how about you just think about finishing the thing that you need to finish right now, or that you need to address, doing that, and then go down your list and pick the next thing to focus on with the next block of time. So this is where, again, plan in blocks. That's what I'm telling you. Simplify it more. And then the second strategy I have for you is this is a question that you can ask yourself that I feel like shifts energy. How can I make this easier or more simple? So if there's something that you are planning around and you're like, oh, like you're just maybe stressing about it a bit, trying to add all these details to it, worried about something as a result of that plan, ask yourself, just stop and say, like, how can I make this easier? How can I make this more simple? And then see what comes up for you. And that'll shift the energy for you. So what I did, even this morning, I was planning out my meals for the week, like my family's meals, all the dinners. And I was going through the plan, and then I was like, stop, how can I make this easier? And I was like, hey, what if going forward, each day, this is what I used to do, and this habit fell out the window, but it's such a good one for your energy. I was like, each day of the week, you decide the kind of food you're having. Like, I'm not talking about the exact type, but the category it fits in. So that way you don't ever have to think so much about it. So this is what I landed on. And I was like, yeah, because we eat a lot of times like the same food every week. But like, what if I create more of a structure around it? But it's simple, it's easy. So this is what I landed on. And the reason we got here was because I asked myself that question. How can I make this easier? How can I make this more simple? I landed on with like, okay, Mondays, do some kind of stir fry. Chicken, shrimp, stir fry, whatever stir fry. Monday's a stir fry day. Tuesdays, do some kind of tacos. Taco Tuesday. It could be fish taco, chicken tacos, beef tacos, whatever kind of tacos you want to make, or a taco bowl, but it's like the tacos. And then Wednesday, casseroles. You always make casseroles or like something in the crock pot and you like that. Have Wednesday be the day for that. Thursday, you always like to order salads. Thursday's your day that you order salads, or you just make a big salad at home. And then Friday, Pizza Friday. And my son loves pizza. We usually do like a cauliflower type of pizza. And then appetizers. So it's like pizza apps, like a fun Friday kind of feel. And then Saturday, I like to make a quiche if we're home in the morning for breakfast. That's a habit that I have. And then Sunday is like free for all. Like Saturday too. Like if we go out to eat, or Sunday's kind of like wherever we are. If we're going to church, we're getting breakfast out or food, whatever it is. So that's what I decided. I created like some structure there. And then each week when I'm thinking about getting the groceries, it fits. Like, I'm like, okay, what kind of casserole are you making this week? What do you want to have in the quiche this week? What kind of tacos? What kind of stir fry? It just helps. It feels like there's freedom there, but there's also structure there. And that's how I like to flow, with the structure and the freedom. All right. So, oh, baby girl, she went back and passed out. Just giving us some more time. This is my third strategy. Let's get to it. What would it look like if I trusted more or surrendered control? This is a question that you're asking yourself. So this is another energy shifting question. I ask my clients this too. When sometimes they're worried about something related to their career, or a decision that they're making, or should they make the switch, or whatever it is, I will say, what would it look like if you trusted more? What would you do if you knew you were going to be supported? If you knew everything was working out for you, what would you do then? And you're like, oh, I would definitely do this. I'd make this decision. And that is really helpful to you. So when you think about planning, you can ask yourself that. What would it look like if I trusted more or surrendered control? There's I'm considering like my child care right now and trying to figure out what that looks like in the future. And there's so much unpredictability. And sometimes I can stress out a lot about it. And what helped me today was asking myself that question as I was trying to plan, because I found myself obsessively planning. I was like, well, if plan A doesn't work out, this will be my plan B, this will be my plan C, and this will be my plan D. Like, and I was trying to like control that. And it's like, why am I even spending all this energy trying to come up with all these plans, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, all these plans, when I don't even know really what's going to happen? All I know is really what's happening today. It's always unpredictable. No matter what contract you sign, it doesn't matter. It's always unpredictable because I can't control the future. So I'm not saying like because you can't control, don't plan, but then really just sit there and think like, do I really need to spend all this energy planning for what if this person says this? What if they do this? That's not even a good use of your time and your energy. And I think this is where that Bible verse comes in about not worrying about tomorrow. So instead, it's like, here, ask yourself the question, what would it look like if I trusted more? If I knew everything was happening for me, if I knew I'd always be supported, what would I do now? Would I try to plan for A, B, C, D, E, F, G, all those extra plans? Or would I just be like, this is getting handled in this block of time. I could trust that. And I know if there's a future issue, I trust myself to handle it. I trust that I can figure it out. All right. So those are the three strategies, let's call them that have helped me with generating a higher energy around my planning processes. But you can see, like, even when I came back to food, I was still planning. It just feels better now in the way that I'm doing it. Another thing that I did this morning too, I asked myself that second question, the second strategy, how can I make this easy or more simple? I was planning my workouts for the week, and I was like trying to write them all out. And I was like, this feels hard. And like, I don't like it. I don't like the feeling behind it. And it feels like I'm too like glued to this one way of doing it. And it feels like I like flexibility. I like a structure, but I also like a flow with it. So I came back and I was like, well, how about I just say Monday, Wednesday, Fridays, you do your full body strength training workout. And Tuesdays and Thursdays, you commit to movement, more of the cardio or getting outside, walking. And then you can add a little bit of core work, 5 minutes, a little bit of core, because I really got to strengthen my lower core after the babies and stuff. In like daily, you can add that little dose in there. And I was like, that feels really good, because then each Monday, Wednesday, Friday, I can pick the strength training workout that I want to do. Feels like there's flexibility in there, but there's also structure. That came from me asking myself that question. How can I make this easier? How can I make it more simple? Sometimes we don't even allow ourselves to let it be easy. We just complicate it. What if it was easy? Like, sometimes I think about people always want to come on the show. They want to do interviews. And I'm always like, like sometimes I don't want to, because I feel like the coordination of the scheduling the time where we both can meet, and then the editing, and just feels like a lot of work, and I'm like, I don't know if I really want to go through that. It's so much easier that I can just grab the mic and I'm gonna have my sport bra on and my baby's in the background, like ramping up her cries, it's so much easier, it feels like. But then when I think about like, well, I do love connecting with people, I can ask myself, how can you make it easy? If you did do podcast interview and with people, how can it be easier? And that just gives me more answers, more opportunities. Like will show up for me in my mind, because I'm like, well, I can pick it with certain people who are like super chill about stuff. I can decide I'm not going to do A, B, C thing. I'm going to, whatever. It just, answers will come to you when you ask yourself that question. All right. So let's go back to the 3 strategies and we'll wrap this up. That's what I'm trying to say. Oh, Lord. Okay. So strategy number 1 is to plan in blocks. And think about what that means to you. Think about how, like, okay, I'm going to finish this. Like, sometimes when you're worrying, you're thinking about all the next things to come. How do I get all those things figured out? It's like, stop, plan in blocks. Let's just start with this first block, get that thing done. Then we'll we'll focus. I'm taking away the word worry. We'll focus on the next thing. And that brings you peace. All right. Especially if you're like in a season of like a lot of things going on, just function in the blocks, stay in the block, move on to the next block, and just that will serve you. Okay. The second strategy is asking yourself, how can I make this more easy? Or how can I make this more simple? Where this is what you want to ask yourself if you find yourself stressing out about something that you're trying to plan for. And then the third question, another energy shifting question, is what would it look like if I trusted more? What would I do then? What if I surrendered control here? What if I really believed everything was working out for me? Then what? Those kinds of questions are going to help shift the energy there, because really when we're trying to plan obsessively, we find it's shifting our energy more to this lower state, this anxious state, this tight gripping state. It's because we're trying to control. So the surrender is needed there. So you need the question that helps you surrender. What would it look like if you did surrender? What would it look like if you trusted more? What would it look like if you believed everything was happening for you? That will help you release and then shift that energy in your planning process. And think about, what would it be like if when you did plan, you planned from this place of like a higher energy, abundance mindset kind of planning. You planned with that energy. It wasn't attachment, it wasn't tight gripping. I think about some of my favorite entrepreneurs that I admire. They're very intentional. They plan galore. They're very intentional about their day. They're planning out what they're going to do that day. They're planning out their quarters or the months, the year, all the things. But they don't do it from this anxious, hasty energy. It's like wouldn't it be cool if kind of energy. It's an excitement energy, but it's like, let me direct my own energy right. Let me get the containers and the mugs out for that flow. That's how they're showing up and doing it. And I imagine it's because they're asking themselves these kinds of questions that shift their energy. And they're really being intentional about staying in their lane with that one block of time, that one main goal that we're working on. We're going to get that done, and then we'll move into the next. We'll worry about the other stuff later. And again, not worry. It's just the saying that we often say. We'll focus on the other stuff later. All right. I hope that you enjoyed this episode. Another thing that I've been thinking through that I wanted to get your insight on is I've been talking about wanting to do a Clarify Your Vision live course, or like, I don't know if we'd even call it a course, because it'd be a live event. We'd show up and we would clarify our visions together with the spring energy. So I want to still do that, but I wanted to check in and see who's actually interested in doing that. So if you want to do that with me, I would love it if you just shot me a message and said, hey, Ange, I'm interested in doing a Clarify Your Vision event for this spring. And that would be just you showing up and us intentionally taking the time to think through, what do we want this next season to look like for us? And then intentionally guiding that energy and doing it in a very fun way where we're all together and we're dreaming up some things. We're getting into this. We're just really taking advantage of this beautiful spring energy. All right, let me know if that's something you would want to be a part of. You can shoot me a message at Instagram at Ange Barnard. I'll try to check there. And then also my email at angemmbarnard@gmail.com. Everything gets forwarded there, so you can have that email. And then you'll see the details in the show notes of this episode. It should have it'll tell you my Instagram and email, all that stuff. That's what I'm trying to say. That will be there. So again, if you're thinking you want to be part of that, just let me know. I just want to see if there's enough of a demand that people actually want to do this so that it's worth my time to set up and we can do it together. It would probably be like an hour and a half long where we show up and we get really intentional. I have some creative ideas too. Like I'm such a nerd. Okay, I'll get off here in just a bit, but I just bought like a new magnet to like put my vision into so I can put it on the fridge. I've created my visions in the past, my vision boards, and have had them become magnets. And I love that one. I have that, but I just bought one that you can print out the picture and then you can exchange it. And then I thought about these other fun things we can do. Like I have this big, gigantic water bottle and I'm going to write all my identity statements on there for the things I'd like to create. And I really want to create from this place of this higher energy, no control around it. I'm not attached. I'm kind of like, this is my vision, God. And I know you're working with me to bring things out into my life. And I'm not attached. Like if you got something better, I'm open to that too. Like we can erase that goal. I'm totally fine with that. And what I find is that when I'm intentional and I clarify my vision, I make my desires known to God, I feel like things come to be, but they're even better than I imagined. But it still is like aligned with what I desired. But again, better than what I imagined. And I was like, that's how he do. That's what God does. That's how I feel. But I feel like we're called to be like, hey, Santa, here's my list of things that I want for Christmas. Like, I don't know. I just see it that way. And he's like, oh, that little thing you want? I got something for you. Like, but I feel like there's an energy of we're called to do that. And it's supported biblically. I even have seen that. Anyways, I'm just going to be showing up here as like more myself. Like, I remember keeping it real with you guys before I end this. I remember being in like different small groups and things with my church and in the past, it's a long time ago. And I remember just feeling like I didn't want to share like my real thoughts about certain things that I felt because I felt like they'd be like, no, that's not how it is, And now I just feel like, dude, this is my own relationship with God. And I feel like and this is my own life and I want to show up as my real self, not worried about like, oh, this person thinks a certain way about me. Like, F it. Like, one life. Let's just make it our best life. That's how I feel. All right. I digress. I'll get off this episode now and grab my little baby. All right. Love y'all. Have an awesome day. Talk to you soon. Bye.